All right, so red-white tokens is something we'd played a bit of before. I actually have a variation of this up on my site pre-Historic Horizon, so I'm interested to see how some of these additions feel in it. Seasoned Pyromancer is obviously just a very good card. It can go wide with bodies, which is great for our various pump effects like this. It also draws you a lot of gas in the late game. Notably, this card does not require you to have cards in hand in order to draw new cards. So if you play this out and your hand is empty, it's just a 2/2 for 3 that draws you 2 cards, just a divination. Yeah, good top deck. It also exiles itself in the mid to late game to give you more tokens to pressure your opponent with. So I think this is an excellent addition. One thing I'm not 100% certain on in this deck are the Beaumont Couriers and the Unholy Heats. One thing that's notably missing from other builds that I've played is there's no History of Benalias in this deck, and History of Benalia is just a really powerful effect, so I'm not certain that I like these interactive and kind of lower powered cards for that. Dragon Rage Chandler seems sweet. It triggers whenever you cast a non-creature spell, and we have a ton of non-creature spells. We only have 11 creatures, in fact, so this should get to trigger fairly often. One of the other things, too, honestly, Dragon Rage Chandler is probably another reason to want to be playing History of Benalia, because History of Benalia is an enchantment that ends up in the graveyard, too, at a certain point. So I'm interested to see if the Delirium from these cards is something we're going to be able to enable consistently, or if these end up being not. Like, I feel like a lot of people have taken for granted how easy these are to enable because they're used to playing with them in Modern, where Mishra's Bauble is legal, and without that free artifact to trivially toss in the bin, it's much tougher to hit all your types. So let's go ahead and dive on into some games with this one and see how it feels. I feel like there's a chance after we play 3 or 4 matches, we might end up shoving some histories in here. Beaumont's a card I've been a little whelmed by. Yeah, there's fetch lands in Modern too, help make enabling Delirium trivial as well. And I saw someone in chat mention Fabled Passage, but that card's really not good in aggressive shells. Oh, you don't have history because of budget concerns. Okay, we'll play a few without history, but I'd be pretty surprised if Optimal Tokens deck doesn't have history in it. We did not get Grimflayer, which is sad. Hopefully they give us Shadows over Innistrad with the Innistrad sets in the fall. Would be nice. I have a 1/1 for 1/1. She's dead, Jim. They murdered her. History does have a lovely animation. You're not wrong. Afternoon Strix. I'm looking forward to starting Psychonauts on Monday, too. Black, Red Phoenix, maybe Grixis Phoenix. Opponent is still missing land drops. Seems good for our hero.
Hey, this'll be easy.
I think I'd pass on that, Moonwiz. There will not be house bans for tomorrow. Faerun, just normal historic. Unfortunately, as much as I despise Memory Lapse and what it does to the format, doing house bans means the tournament coverage will be less popular. And I'm a dirty sellout, chat. I'm here for the views. We put in the effort to run tournaments to generate clicks.
Today's my lucky day.
Running the tournaments a lot more effort than just doing a normal stream.
Spill their blood.
Charge! All right, so we don't have copies of Rest in Peace. But we have Soul Guide Lantern. I guess Lantern makes sense because we have Delirium Dorcos, huh? Bring in some Deccan Stones. Chandra's probably a little bit slow overall. Yeah, this card's been great in all of the testing that I've done with it. The flexibility is key, right? Like, you wouldn't play either of these cards individually in a constructed deck, but when you have the option of doing whichever one is better at any given point, it really brings up the power level. Trim a 2-drop here. Well, makes our first land drop choice easy. Den of the Buggy Bear. Buggy Bear. Buggy Wuggy Bear, yeah. Yep. So gonna put those 6 cards in their bin already. So we could see Kroxa escape next turn. They have Anger of the Gods in their deck. It's an interesting one. So I think we discard a Sacred Foundry here. No, I'm going to discard the Shefet Dunes, actually. And then we'll make a couple of 2/2s at end of turn, and then we'll go tapped land Deccan Stone next turn. Make a couple 1/1s, sorry. Hey, sounds good, Huevos. Feel free to continue updating that between now and Sunday night. If you play it some more today or tomorrow, I'll grab the latest deck list Sunday evening or Monday morning and import it. So just update it at that link, and I'll grab whatever your iteration is to start from. Drawing more Seasoned Pyromancers seems to be a strong line, chat. I will perhaps consider employing this line in my future games of Magic. We are in fact getting out tokened. Just seen so many more cards than us. Even like heroic reinforcements doesn't really get us back in here, huh? Game 3 on the play. We could draw some of our Soul Guide Lanterns this time through. I will say the fact that Faithless Looting decks got so many new tools, playing Dragon Rage Chandler, meaning that we don't get to leverage Rest in Peace, is definitely a bit of a downside. Rip is so good. A little sad that we don't have a 2-drop, but hand's definitely keepable. I don't know, mulligan too low against a deck full of discard spells. A lot of control decks we've run into on the ladder are, playing Grafdigger's Cage in their main deck again. Nice, that's great. I mostly only put decks up on my website that we've had successful runs with 2 or more times, Xanthias. So everything that is reasonable on a one-off ends up on the YouTube channel as always. But it takes me time and money to put things up on the website, so. And I do my best to maintain the website. So like when decks up there are no longer reasonable or remotely competitive, I like take them down and stuff too. So everything I add up there adds an upkeep cost as well. You know, I'm gonna Forbidden Friendship here, so this way if they have a piece of spot removal, they can't stop Legion's Landing from flipping. They're still dead, right? Good stuff. Good stuff. I think Fish would play Vile and Collected Company if it could. Yeah, probably. Especially, like, with the amount of... What's it called that you can play? Like, the fact that, like, we have the build that has 40-some hits in it. Like, playing 36 hits is nice. Speaking of fish, I think I'm fine with this trade. We're pretty far away from enabling that. We lose out on like some scry value, but I'm gonna chill here rather than running into a flash creature. I said Brazen Borrower, sure. Is it worth having a not worth playing site on my website? No. Listing out crappy Magic the Gathering decks is an endless task. Especially in a non-rotating format like this. They could very well flood the board with this Reachery this turn. Just lets them untap a land every time they cast a Merfolk. They must not have another Lord, though, huh? Because otherwise they would have played it. Yeah, probably a Collected Company here. I'm going to kill this Marrow Reachery in response. There's a good chance they find a Lord, and then I can no longer shock anything. So, Merfolk is probably an all Doomblades on deck matchup. We'll cut these. They have a hard time attacking in. Abrade's Helix, extra Unholy Heats happen. Do I want these Deccan Stones? I think red-white tokens is super reasonable, Orgy. I have a variation up on the website from before Historic Horizons was added to it. I should probably slot. I don't think I added Seasoned Pyromancer to that build. Seasoned Pyromancer at a minimum is good. I'm not convinced that these cards are good. This card's definitely great though. Feel like I want to trim one of my top ends here. I'm going to keep the one that can be a removal spell. And Gene Christian, thanks for the follow. Is Merfolk good enough to craft? I would be surprised if Merfolk is not competitive in some iteration. I would also be surprised if it was ever in talks to be the best deck in the format. But yeah, I think it finally has enough tools that, like, if you enjoyed that archetype, that you can play it and win a reasonable number of games with it. I also think Merfolk's the style of deck that can be built to have good play against control. Like, it's one of the creature decks that probably has the best game against something like Jeskai because of its ability to play a bunch of miscast. So I only attacked in here because I had Abrade. Otherwise, I probably wouldn't have, like I skipped attacking last game. I'm going to bin this here. Definitely just looking for a land. If I would have been the reinforcements, I would have gotten to attack for 3 there, but I just assumed I was going to draw land and get to cast this reinforcements. Silly me. Do-do-do-do. Got me. Get to do this and flip this over, and the next turn we get to go Chandler into reinforcements, run them down. Chandler was impressive this game. Oh, I was playing Usher previously. Is what got cut. I was trying. I just pulled up my build of this deck on my site on my other monitor. I was like, I couldn't remember. I was like, what got cut to fit in these other things? We cut History and we cut Usher. I'm pretty sure Dragon's Rage Chandler is reasonable here. I don't know that I'm convinced on these cards. History is just so good. And like History curving into heroic reinforcements is good. What if we did this? This deck definitely felt like it wanted more proactive 1-mana plays. What do we think of this in terms of curve? This is how many non-creatures? This is still 26 ways to trigger this. Let's try this. Usher is nice because it's like a 1-drop that also lets you spend your mana on turn 2 as well. Zerial's definitely not been bad, but having a low curve to work with consistently is very good. This is definitely a mulligan. That's a good thought. Bolt lands get better with Seasoned Pyromancer. Tomorrow's tournament is normal historic. Robber the Rich in a discard deck feels like an interesting choice. Let's go ahead and kill this.
When people start screaming, I know I'm on track. Now you're playing with fire.
It's actually not in advance at all. September 19th, we are having the Nexto Glande open after tomorrow. Jim Davis will be my co-commentator, and we will have signups open tomorrow after tomorrow's open starts. I'm intending to be plugging the September event during our event tomorrow. In general, I'd always like to be able to plan ahead and let people know about our events weeks or even months out. The problem is Wizards fucking hates communicating, and that usually isn't an option. The historic set releases get announced like 2 weeks before they happen, which makes planning tournaments impossible. Because I don't want to pick dates and then need to move them when they announce something's happening like a day after. No, Brawl is a rancid competitive format. Nobody wants to engage in a tournament that's just a bunch of people playing Golos and Winota Mirrors. Sounds terrible. This will be a 3/4 with lifelink. So you can do that one time. Either becomes Phyrexian Negator or a 3/4 with lifelink. I think we might get another historic card dump before the year's over. Yeah, definitely. Wizards likes money. So Chandra is probably the best draw in our deck. Hey, thanks for the 24 months, Morgy. Welcome back. Do I throw away Den of the Bugbear to flip Legion's Landing? I think the answer is no, because it's my second red source. Yeah, it could be an anthology Steric. They could also surprise us and, like, announce that they're going to do, like, an Innistrad remastered in between the two other Innistrad sets. Thanks for the follow, Goldsmith. Yeah, I agree. I think we could see, or after the second one, we just get a bunch of Innistrad in a row. Because the new Innistrad setting will get old-timers hype for their nostalgia. Thanks for the follow, Visarion. Good afternoon. It's an interesting one. Thanks for the brand new Prime, Visarion. That's very generous of you. I appreciate the Bezo bucks. That is true. Other rogues make the robber seem more appealing, for sure. Alright, I'm gonna flip this lightning over and attack them. Yikes. This makes this a 3/2. This game wasn't terrible considering we mulliganed to 5 and got discard spelled like 3 or 4 times. I don't know that I could really ask for more out of my deck there. So spot removal seems good. Just trim some of these Dorkos. Trim a couple of these too, so we're not as thick at the 3 spot in the curves. This is a good number of 1s, 8, 10, 6. Let's give this a try. Oh, could potentially want Soul Guide Lantern here, but it didn't look like they were on Croxa. This is the last deck of the day. No. I'm gonna do at least one more. How many rounds do I expect tomorrow to be? Somewhere between 9 and 11. But remember, when I tell you I expect it to be between 9 and 11 rounds, we don't have a cut to top 8. We just play double elimination until there's only one person left that hasn't lost twice. So if you wanted to compare it to a Swiss cut to top 8, it's comparable to like 6 to 7 rounds. How many signups are we at the moment? The number of signups we have at the moment is not a meaningful metric because Magic players are Magic players. In my experience, 60 to 80% of people playing in the tournament will register in the last 12 hours, and a good chunk of them will register in the last hour or two. I think we have like 30 people signed up now, but I'd expect we'll be somewhere between 64 and 100. I completely agree that double elimination is a much better style of tournament than traditional Swiss. That's why we run them that way. Also, another thing to note compared to traditional Swiss, this is why double elimination is great, because it says 40 at the moment. Yeah, it was like 25 this morning when I checked, so I've had 15 in the last few hours as people to figure out what their weekend looks like. When I say our tournament's going to be, 9 to 11 rounds, I expect we'll be done in less than 8 hours. Usually we do 10 rounds in like 7 hours. See, I'm actually the exact opposite, Dr. Jones. While obviously emergency situations are emergency things and things pop up, like the fact that an emergency could come up doesn't force me to not commit to things. Like if anything, the older my children get, the more structured my life has become, because it's important to have structure so we can get to everything that we need to get to. That's important. And obviously that's my personal experience, so if yours differs, I believe you, but... Alright, can we draw an untapped land here and just, like, run these out 3 turns in a row? Sedge. Yeah, that definitely hasn't been the case for me, D. Jones. If anything, like I said, my gaming times become more structured and less sporadic, because if I don't schedule it, it doesn't happen. Everything has its time and place and all that jazz. Nah, I'd be kind of surprised if this card is overbearing. We just, like, have drawn mono 4-mana cards and don't have any lands, so we're dead here. I expect it'll be playable, but I don't expect it to be omnipresent like it is in Modern. A lot of the symptoms of Dragon Rage Chandler being omnipresent in Modern are because of other cards that are messed up in Modern that should have been banned long ago. Like, the fact that Mishra's Bauble is still Modern legal is a real head-scratcher. And honestly, if Dragon Rage Chandler, I would not only would I get rid of Bauble, but even in Historic too, I think Luris is the card that needs to go away long before something like Dragon Rage Chandler needs to go away. Delirium is quite easy to obtain. It isn't in Historic, actually. Without fetch lands and without free artifacts and stuff floating around, it actually has something you have to work for and has real deck building considerations. In Modern, Delirium is free because of Bauble and fetch lands. You're saying I should have to pay mana for all my spells. I'm saying Magic's more balanced when you have to pay mana for your spells. Can we have Oko back? No. Bad chat. Stop it. Mountain Witch's Oven. So they are either the unluckiest food player in the world, having drawn both their mountains. Maybe they're a red-black sack deck? Mayhem Devil's pretty good against us. Instead of banning memory lapse, I would also accept emergency printing red elemental blast into the format. We could just all have, like, you know, gentleman's agreement that... I was gonna say we could all have a gentleman's agreement that we could just pretend it was printed inside of, Strixhaven Archives, and then I got Game 1 Sheen Warlord. I'm just gonna concede the match. Our opponent's deck is a weird random rogue brew, and I don't really care how my tokens deck does or doesn't do against 4 main board Chain Whirlers. It's probably a bad matchup. There isn't much to be learned there. Yeah, exactly, Steve Flugger. I mentioned this has felt like a real Eternal format, just like, you know, randomly finding your 90-10 matchups when you're playing with your brew. It's just like, that's peak non-rotating format Magic. My sweet tokens deck, 4 Chain Whirlers. Well, shit. Speaking of the Historic Horizons cards that perpetually give people modifiers, we need to try out Vanafear combo with the Perpetual Haste creature at some point. It's probably a banger. We got Breaching Hippocampus in the most recent Jumpstart 2, right? So we can go from 1 drops to 5 drops if we wanted to via the pod chain. Is this the same person we just played against, or is this a different deck? Oh, it's the same person. Well, okay. Well, I'm gonna go fill my water bottle because Magic Arena is fucking trash. So that'll give our opponent a chance to re-queue into someone that's not me. So I'll be back in 30 seconds. Soma, thanks for the prime. Hey, Stormbreath Dragon, thanks for the prime. Welcome back. It was the same username. Yep. Fair. So something that they bugged in their update was it repairs you back into the same person now if you like finish a match and you both requeue at the same time. And that definitely didn't used to happen. There used to be something in there that prevented that. It's been happening quite frequently since the server backend change on Tuesday. So hopefully that gets addressed sometime soon. All right, this is a different username. So if you do like we did there and queue into an unwinnable matchup, don't just re-queue instantly. Or you'll be very sad. For the record, that previous opponent's deck that we just conceded to twice seems really sweet. It just also seems like it's probably 95% against our deck full of tokens, so I'm just going to skip it. The back-end changes help solve the memory issues. So I actually haven't had memory leak issues with Arena in quite a while. We've been doing like 5-hour Arena segments on stream. I don't have to restart after 2 to 3 anymore, and I haven't for a little bit. That being said, the sporadic like waiting for server stuff is still there and has always been there. So it's like we traded one issue for another. I basically played best of 3 while in the best of 1 queue today. It was very funny. That's great. Yeah, I have Soma. So actually the one archetype that we've played on stream since the new cards dropped that didn't feel good enough for me to bother uploading to YouTube was that. And by no means did we have like an optimal build of it, I'm certain, but I'd be kind of surprised if a deck that plays that many individually weak cards ends up being too scary in this format. And maybe someone will figure out and break it, but the mix of things that I've tried and I've seen other people playing, it just seems like your average card quality is just so low, you can kind of picked apart by interaction, and your leftovers are just real bad. Fiery Temper to Lightning Axe. It's like double Doomblade for 2 mana chat. It's busted. Hey, Kaiser. Thanks for up in the prime. Welcome back. History of Benalia here. Looking real good. It's been a little while since I've given someone a history lesson. Thanks for the follow, Swank. Yeah, potentially Hallowed One. I'm excited to see what people are working on too. Totally reasonable. Yep, confirmed Hallowed Fun. So we'll drop a second history here. The third chapter going to pop off and give knights +2/+1 next turn. Depending on how they block, you see a pair of goblins could be great. Heroic reinforcements, definitely the best draw in our deck at this point. Yeah, that seems super reasonable, Sigil. I definitely think playing more cards that play to the board in that archetype is probably a good direction to go, like I mentioned in the wrap-up. Penal, thanks for the follow. Good afternoon. What's going on, Blad? Thanks for the 21 months. Welcome back. I'm gonna run the no blocks here since these are gonna get pumped for the next 2 turns. Do I want to make some goblins or attack with the Bugbear? I think I want to attack with the den. So they have a free block here. They're doubling. That seems fine. They take 9. And if they take their free block, they're taking 11 here down to 8. And then this is popping off again next turn to give us 12 to shove with, which is pretty decent. No removal spell there is excellent. Super far ahead in this race. History of Benalia is a tough card to race against. Just so many bodies and power. Uh-oh, was that 2 madness cards? It was. 420 Walla in the house. Do you have a hollowed one? Hollowed one, hollowed one. Do you have a hollowed one? Do 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 do. We've not, Soma. Those kind of slow, fair, grindy things tend to not be particularly good in this format, in my experience. So we're hoping to fade 420 Wallas as well as hollowed ones here. It's a big chunk. How greedy is it to go to 2 here? I think I was supposed to go to 2. Really close game. That'll do it though. I thought this was just 1 per spell, but it gets a counter per red source in the spell's casting cost. So this gives it 2, and this gives it 2. That's pretty sweet. Opponent's deck seems really, really awesome. Heat sounds good. Helix sounds good. Deck and Stone sounds good. My 1/1s feel a little mediocre. Yeah, Reckless Charge seems really good in Feather, for sure. Usher seems bad. Do I want these Soul Guide Lanterns? I guess they can trip, and they can exile a Phoenix in a pinch. Yeah, a lot of good choices there and back and forth and decisions to make because of how important combat was in that game. Hand needs a third land, but definitely a keep. The old Legion's landing on one here. Just gonna go ahead and murder their early pressure here. I mean, to be fair, Blad, there aren't that many things that interact with counters in Magic to begin with. So I feel like the complaint there counters I can't interact with is kind of silly. Just gonna use my mana for the churn. Obviously exiling this isn't important, but might as well get this into play so we can exile their yard in response to something potentially. If we need to at a future point. There's a non-zero chance they could have something crazy like Arc-like Phoenix in their deck here too, so this stops them from spinning into that potentially. It is kind of interesting that this is a Phoenix that doesn't have haste. It's a little atypical for that kind of design that we see in Magic with some consistency. What's going on, Matt? Thanks for the follow. Take this hit so we can do this and flip the Legion's landing this turn. I think we definitely want to flip landing here. I am not familiar with a Tybalt's Trickery deck, new Tybalt's Trickery deck, no. Feels like we're probably just too far behind at this point. We did nothing effectively for 2 turns in the middle there. So, I'm cheating off of past Jeff's homework a little bit, and I've been glancing at the red-white deck on my website here as we've made edits to the deck. And after having yet another game where we stumbled and died, and we just couldn't play our spells, I finally looked at the mana base. And chat, Cheesy Pastries, if you're still here, I'm going to call you out on this because y'all need to be called out on this. The tokens deck that's on my site has 25 lands in it, and has 25 lands in it for a reason. This deck, when submitted, had 22, and we added 1 to it, but we're going to go ahead and add another 1 to it now. Play more lands in your decks, chat. You will lose far more games to stumbling and dying than you will to flooding and dying, especially when your deck gets to play so many useful utility lands with things like Den of the Bugbear and Shefet Dunes. I think this build can probably afford to have 1 less land in the build on my site because the curve's lower, and we've got Seasoned Pyromancer and Dragon Rage Chandler for a little bit selection, but it's just so important that you're able to actually play a game. Stop cutting lands from the decks on my site. Don't do it. Or more importantly, if you're building a deck yourself, However many lands you think you need, add 2. Add 2 utility lands. You think you only need 22 lands? Play 24 with 2 more utility lands. There's so many good utility lands in Historic right now. Play more of them. Cast your spells more consistently. Get to actually play a game more frequently. Yeah, add Shatter Skull Smashings, add Shefet Dunes like I did here. There's so many good cards like that like are a land but are also a spell. Thanks for that 15 months, Cedris. Does that go the same in a 3-color deck? Yeah, because you know what the best source of color fixing is in a 3-color deck? Having lands that make all your colors. So playing more lands in your 3-color deck means your mana will be better because you just have more lands that make lots of different colors. Mr. P, thank you for the 34 months. Closing on that 3-year mark. It's been a while. And Cedris, thanks for the 15. Welcome back. Yes, I would still really love it if we got like Shambling Vent and Friends added to this format at some point, but I'm definitely very content with the AFR creature lands for the time being. They're very, very elegant playable designs. Blue-black Yorion, eh? Esper Yorion. Probably Doom Foretold. Ooh, that's nice. Turn 3 Chandra. Don't mind if I do.
Yup, you're going down.
Is turn 3 Chandra brought to you by having enough lands in your deck? Big mood. I'm gonna landing. I'm gonna shock this in so we can use the first fort. Adanto is legendary, yes. I'm gonna raise the alarm here because raise the alarm means you see a pair of goblins is lethal through a piece of spot removal. Do-do-do-do-do-do. Look at that, chat. It's just like we drew it up. Nothing but the biggest brain plays here. Couple more Chandras. Couple of Awakened Infernos. Honestly, I know it just won us the game there, but I think this is probably the trim. I think especially post-board, they're more likely to have sweepers. The chance of this having a chance to build a board for us is low. Makes our curve look really nice here. We have 10, 8, 8, 8, and 2. How many decks after this one? At least one more. I'll kind of play it by ear depending on what the viewer count looks like and how the children are behaving. Had a pretty solid 1,200 plus people in here all afternoon though, which has been great. And remember too, if you're a fan of Historic, make sure you plan to drop by tomorrow from 10 a.m. until probably about 4 or 5 p.m. depending on how long the tournament goes. The Glandia Open will be having coverage all day here on the stream. Myself, as well as Amazonian, will be bringing you the action as Hoglandians battle it out. If you're interested in playing in that tournament, it is open sign-ups. You need to be subscribed to this channel, and there is a $5 entry fee, but any kind of sub can get you in. If you got that sweet, sweet Twitch Prime, you can use Jeff Bezos' money to pay for half of that. You can find more information on that on MTG Melee there. I haven't decided what the third deck we're doing today is. Maybe Tempered Steel. I also have like a Naya mid-range deck, and I haven't cast Restoration Angel yet, and I feel like I need to cast Restoration Angel today. She's my gal, chat. Restoration Angel and I, we go way back. Hey, Andre, thanks for the half a year. I appreciate the prime. I'll just go ahead and activate this rather than playing Raise the Alarm. It's technically 1 less power, but it's committing 1 less thing to the board, which also has value. It's not way back. Avacyn Restored came out 3 years ago, right? Got some bad news for you. So just for reference, in the defense of good software, Untap's mouse over overlay is not functional currently because Twitch has not approved their extension update. So Untapped has done everything they can to try and get that working. They're waiting on Twitch. So you can type !deck in chat to get a direct link to the deck list. But the mouse overs are currently not functional.
And ill-refined.
It's not you, it's Twitch. Don't sweep my leg, Daddy. I don't deserve it. Don't do me dirty like that. They have a sweeper, they need to jam it, right? Because History's gonna pippity pop next turn. If we draw untapped land, we could Shefet Dunes too. Alright.
Let's slow this down. Hurry.
Eight, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 17, 18, 19. I actually have exactly lethal, assuming they have no removal spells and I pop a Shefet Dunes. Thanks for keeping it around so it can be my job, Tongsby. I also like, you know, in addition to just like making up hours I wasn't here working, like I do really just want to play with a bunch of these cards, right? Like we haven't played with Restoration Angel yet. I'd really like to play with Restoration Angel. Like have a removal spell and they're debating if they want to pull the trigger on it now. So that's a tapped land. I think I'm supposed to Seasoned Pyromancer ditch these two. I obviously have to kill Narset if I want to do that, though. Oh, does this trigger per Planeswalker? God, That's such a beating. I should have killed this last turn. That was a mistake. Just gave them 2 extra life by my sequencing.
Such violence is upsetting.
We could brick on a land tier, but I don't want to not use my mana this turn. And I don't want to discard the Chandra. Hey, did you peel the sweeper? Watch this heroic reinforcements be too short because I didn't kill their thing last turn. Yeah, it's a little bit more than too short at least. Yes, I am very glad that Dam got left out of Jumpstart Historic Horizons. Yeah, Prismatic Ending was a good leave out as well. Agree. So you dead to the Shefet Dunes opponent? This is what we're seeing here too is I actually ended up cutting all of the Awakened Infernos from the tokens list at the end of it because you just like get too many situations. No, I lied. There's 2 on my side. I'm not sure that this card is good. May or may not be good. It's just so slow. Are they still just dead to this? So they're going to 9. Now is the 2 life gonna cost me? No, they're dead, right? Everything's a 2/2. Yeah, this is lethal. They block here. They take 12. Also, Shefet Dunes isn't that like games like this are another reason just like play 24 lands and play 4 Shefet Dunes. The Dunes be good. Seasoned Pyromancer's been a solid addition. Definitely gonna put that one on my site. Dragon Rage Chandler has been fine. I felt like I wanted more 1-drops in the tokens deck on my site. And Dragon Rage Chandler definitely seems like a fine 1-drop, but I don't actually know that I like Chandler better than Usher of the Fallen. Oh, look, chat. It's a repair. That feels pretty good. Ditch the land, smack you. So I'm gonna raise the alarm during the upkeep here to surveil before we draw. This is a bit worse if they have Wrath of God, but like we could have hit Delirium there too, which would have been nice. I also could have like surveilled into a 1-mana spell. Just an Oathakaya deal. Well, that implies no sweeper, right? I don't believe Wizards has commented on the repairing issue as of yet. At least not that I've seen. It's just like the most innocent looking attacks. We're just like trading a token for 5 points of damage. Activated my trap card.
Let's do this.
Kill it with fire.
See ya.
See ya. Wouldn't want to be ya. Well, the real question is, do they have second main deck Yorion? No, that's nice. A gank from our top lane Chandra. Yeah, big mood. Chandra has successfully rotated down and murdered the Yorion. Zadi! Thanks for the follow.
I have practiced against the thoughtfulness before action.
That's lethal, right? Because Chandra's plus deals too.
Oh, this is gonna hurt.
Yeah, I think it's Dreadnought. I called it Maw for a while too, because I'm a Pokemon boomer that wasn't familiar with it. So we have a sideboard plan down. 4 goblins out, 4 pieces of top end in, click submit. DX Country and Half Quarter. Zadi, welcome to the channel. Yeah, I've had the follow alerts on for a little bit. I turned them on when I took a break for Magic to stream smaller games, and then we left them up. It's nice to give people a small shout for clicking the button. We're rapidly approaching 69,000 followers, chat. We were almost there, and then Twitch purged all the bots that had automatically been following people, and we lost like 1,000 followers. Thanks, Juggernaut. Good afternoon. Up to Gen 4. You see, I'm a real Pokemon boomer. I played, maybe not full Pokemon boomer. I played Gen 2. Crystal was the generation I played most as a child. So everything past 250 was like a foreign language to me for a long time. Between Pokemon Go and Pokemon Unite now, I'm slowly learning all of the Zoomermons. Dying Mayo. Is that like mayonnaise that you eat and then it's not good for you? Is that how that works? Sounds unpleasant. For people that are new to the channel, like all the wonderful followers we just picked up there, welcome. My name is Jeff Hoagland. I stream full-time in general here on Twitch. Usually I'm here Monday through Friday during the week, but around set releases I always like to do a little bit extra. We play a ton of constructed Magic. Usually I play between 2 and 4 different constructed decks every single day. Usually we rotate decks every 60 to 90 minutes. There's a lot of variety in every stream that I do. I also have a YouTube channel where everything that we play that seems reasonable or maybe something to work on more ends up in a video, cut up deck by deck. So it's really easy, great source to find sweet things to work on. I think we start with history here. History is better into a sweeper because if they sweep, it guarantees another thing next turn. RGP, thanks for the tier 1 sub. We still get to surveil here. I think I'm bidding that. I already have one of those in hand, and ideally I want to like get my hand empty and then guess up with this, I think. Poke Boomers Unite. Yep. I know I play an angry old man here on television, and most people don't believe me when I tell them this, but I am only a spry young lad of 30. I'll be 31 in January. I just have 3 kids and no hair, so I come off much older than I am. The children age you, chat. They age you deeply. What's going on, Ginger and Xerox? Good afternoon. Yeah, the new microphone was a worthwhile pickup for sure. Glad I finally splurged a little bit. Okay, so they swept us, but we can go DRC into this Dorko and then maybe get empty-handed for this next turn. Oh, that's actually perfect, right? So we'll top that and we'll go land, and then next turn we go land Friendship Seasoned Pyromancer. Hi, Poodle. Good afternoon. Thanks for the follow. I live in Utah, so having 3 kids at 30 is pretty below average. I'm not familiar with that part of the country, so I'm not sure how that rip goes or makes sense necessarily. Mormons. Or do Mormons very commonly have lots of children young? I'm not familiar with that religious sect. I was raised in the cult of the Catholics. So definitely binning a land. Oh, they're anti-contraception. Ah. Listen, chat, you wouldn't play with your magic deck unsleeved. Always use protection. And we just get to jam this, gas back up here at the end. And then even if they have a sweeper here, we've still got Den of the Bugbear left over, and we've got these 2 that exile from the bin for tokens, and now we get to add a Chandra into the mix, so feeling pretty good here. Is Cat Tribal still a meme with the new Lord? Yeah, almost assuredly. Grew up Mormon, I am one of 8. Good golly. Hi, they believe in abstinence. That always works with teenagers. Definitely a strong play. We have a 4-month-old. How are people having 7 more, right? I assume based on the tank here, they're disconnected or don't have a sweeper. Yeah, awesome. Thank you for the submission, Cheesy. Yeah, I definitely think history is great and worth the craft if you like this archetype.
I'm known
For people that are new to the channel, I have 3 Rugrats. They are 6, 7, and 14 months. My wife and I are content with our brood, and that's the size that's gonna stay here. BBQ Legend, thanks for the follow. Yeah, I think I like this. I like this archetype a lot. Like I mentioned, I put this archetype up on my website before this set dropped, and Seasoned Pyromancer and Dragon Rage Chandler both felt like pretty reasonable additions to the deck overall. I do think that I would prefer to flip this split I had here on these. I'm glad that we tried a bunch of copies of this, and this deck did feel like it wanted more good 1-drops, but I think I would go up Ushers and go down one of these. And honestly, I think about 11 1-drops is probably good. The hand where this deck has a 1 mana play are much better than the ones where it doesn't. So this one's been reasonable, but with adding Seasoned Pyromancer, we went up other 3-drops. So I think trimming one of these makes a lot of sense. And I like this main deck a lot. I think I'm definitely going to update the 60 on my website to be this. Seasoned Pyromancer, just a really good Magic card in anything mid-rangey, and even this deck, right? Like, we don't strictly have anything that leverages the graveyard, and it's still very reasonable. Just lets you go wide, lets you gas up, lets you grind a little bit by exiling from your graveyard later. So this felt really clean. I like that Seasoned Pyromancer gave us a nice way to pull the curve down. We'd previously been playing more 4-mana spells, and only having 6 4s felt really, really good. All right.